3 years. That's how long this graphic novel took to make. A lot of drawings, a lot of writing, and a lot of mistakes. In this video, I want to talk to you about 5 tips I would give to speed up your graphic novel writing and drawing, make this process a lot less painful. Is that what I'm saying here? Because this thing, I don't want to say it turned my hair gray, but let's be honest. When you first start your graphic novel, it is going to seem extremely overwhelming. One thing I would do is focus on the big goal of having this book done, or having your book done, but then break it down into daily steps that you can do that all add up to get to this finished product. And the only writing tip I would ever give to anybody is use the Jerry Seinfeld writing technique, which is write every single day for 45 minutes. You sit down in the chair and you can either write or just sit in that chair, but you can't get up, you can't do anything else. And when you do that 45 minutes of writing, you earn a check for the day. Tomorrow, you earn a check for the day if you do the writing. And the goal is to not break that chain. Let's say this took me 6 months to write. My goal is to not write a graphic novel, it's to not break the chain. So I want to write every single day until this thing is written. Then I'll even do that same technique when I'm editing it, rewriting it. I'll allow 3 months to write it and then 2 or 3 months to edit it. When I'm writing, I'm not breaking the chain. I'll give myself a few days off after writing it, but then when I come back to edit it, I'm back on the chain. If you're going to take anything away from this video, that's the way you get books done. That's the way you get any writing or anything creative done, is you do it every single day and you stay connected to it and you don't break the chain. One thing that's going to help you speed up the creation of your graphic novel is the way that you write your outline in your script. When you look in this book, you see all these panels are broken out with the characters and their dialogue bubbles. How do you create this without having a story, and what does the story look like before you create this? And what I do is I create a movie script. When you write a movie script, you're writing it differently than a story. You're not writing it in paragraph form. You're writing it with dialogue, and then you're also writing the description of the scene, the location, and what's happening. In a regular story, you're going to write out long paragraphs and very descriptive. This translates very well to a graphic novel. This is a no-brainer tip. One of my favorite tools to use to write a graphic novel is Procreate on the iPad. Some things that I do to speed up my process drawing in Procreate is I will pre-create the templated frames. So once I find a layout that works, the 6-frame layout here, this becomes a template in Procreate that I just reuse. This book's 430 pages. I had to figure out a way to not customize every single layout of these pages because it would have taken me 3 more years. So once I found that this 6-panel layout worked for me, it gave me plenty of spacing to show what dialogue is happening. I kept that as my main framework. When a lot of action happens or there's a big scene that takes place, I would move to a full frame. I also have a Procreate file set up for that, which is the exact size of my graphic novel, so I don't have to create a Procreate file every single time that I go to draw. As I was working and I found 3-panel horizontals work, so I'm going to set up a template for that. And after 1 to 2 weeks of drawing, I figured out that I don't need that many different layouts, but I would look at some other stories, and occasionally I look at other graphic novels, I see what they're doing. I can see probably on this day I was like, well, let's turn this into 7 or 8 panel page and see if I can compress 3 to 5 pages of the movie script into this. So I'm constantly experimenting with different layouts, but templating anything that works and reusing that, because that reuse is going to save you hours and hours of creating a new Procreate file, setting up the size, drawing the squares. You want to be able to draw things as quickly as possible and get to your first draft of your book as quickly as possible. I recommend just setting up your templates in Procreate and using as many as you can, as often as you can, just to push through the end, and then go back and say, all right, maybe chapter 1 used too many 6-panel layouts, so I'm going to switch that to 8 panels just to spice things up. That's how you're going to keep your story visually interesting and moving, rather than trying to get it right on the first time around. This is a pretty obvious tip, but pick the writing tool that you're most comfortable with and stick with that from day 1 until the completion of writing your graphic novel. And I'm mostly talking about the script or the movie script of your graphic novel. I started The Night My Bed Turned Into a Submarine using Microsoft Word, and then my brain does this thing where it's like, this is a little too boring, we need a fancy program. So I jumped over. I found myself using the tools as a crutch or an excuse to actually do the writing, and I would jump around trying to find the fanciest program that would speed things up for me. Now I'm using BookWiz to write the new version of this. It's probably going to save me 100 hours of writing because because it's all online in one tab, and it just acts as my guide. It has a little bit of AI built into it. I really don't use this. I'm mostly just using the synopsis, the character section. I like all of these things preset, so I don't have to think about that. I can even see a cover of my book on here. You're not starting your writing because you think you need fancy tools. I think that's an excuse. You need to just pick one simple tool that gets the job done for you. This graphic novel took me 3 years to write and draw, and it's 432 pages. If you cut your book down to 215 pages and you put more than 1 to 4 hours per day into it, you're gonna get this done in probably a year, maybe less. This last tip is a Procreate tip. You're gonna redraw your characters over and over. So what I would do is create a custom stamp brush, different turnarounds of your character. So when you go to sketch your page, you just take your brush and you tap it on the page and you resize your character head. So you don't need to redraw that for every single character. So for Till, I drew him all custom one by one, but what I wish I would have done is created turnarounds of my characters in like 8 different ways, sideways and vertically and horizontally, and just created a brush library where when I needed my character to look sideways, I just tap it on the screen. That's my sketch layer, which I can draw smooth inked lines over. I made the mistake of drawing each one of these custom, and I don't know if it adds anything or takes it away. I don't think people will notice if the sketch layer underneath your final artwork are stamp brushes and created in Procreate. Another thing I would do is create your color libraries of your characters before you go to color your book. You're gonna be putting those same colors on the character throughout the book. So I like to have color libraries preset. So I'm just tapping the colors, coloring in my characters, and it's super quick. I don't have to think about any of the colors. Stamp brushes and color libraries are gonna be a huge time saver for you when it comes to writing your graphic novel. If I would have listened to myself, that would have saved me a year of my life at least. I hope that saves you a little bit of time when you're going to write and draw your graphic novel. It's a huge project and extremely overwhelming when you're starting, but just keep that finishing line in mind and visualize that every day as you just check the box and get your work done day by day and let it add up until you're done with your graphic novel.